Breakouts right now on FFT Express. Aizer and Jamey Eisenberg. All right, we got a new round of breakouts. Things have changed a little bit since the NFL draft. So, Jamey, who should we start with at the quarterback position?
I think there's one obvious breakout candidate, and that's Caleb Williams. Looking at what he did last year, and he struggled, and all the additions that were made this offseason to help him improve, from 3 new offensive linemen to Ben Johnson as the head coach to 2 new weapons, and hopefully just a better quarterback overall, but just giving him all these options to improve. Like, how can he not get better? To what heights, we'll find out. But there's just such an opportunity here for him, for a guy that will give you a little bit of rushing to make him relevant in that category. Clearly has the upside to be, I think a 4,500-yard passer, which would be amazing because the Bears have never done that, but has that upside and can be a 30-plus touchdown guy. So I don't know if you're going to call him a top 5 quarterback. I think he has that in his arsenal if things go well, but I think looking at him as a top 10 quarterback makes some sense. So right now he's ranked as QB 9 for me, and have no problem reaching for him a little bit on draft day, knowing that the position is so deep. You can get a good fallback option as sort of a security blanket, as we talked about, like a Jordan Love, for example. I think there's just in your best interest to try and target Caleb Williams this year.
Yeah, it's going to be tough decisions because he'll be going up, against other exciting quarterbacks in the same draft range. But he'll definitely be somebody that I draft. I drafted a lot of him last year, and it was really frustrating. From a dynasty standpoint, if he can't get it done this year, we got a problem. Because if you put, a good quarterback on this team, I think we would expect them to have one of the better passing offenses in the NFL. So it would be alarming, I think, if he didn't show a lot of improvement this year. And then we'll have that conversation. Hopefully we won't have that conversation at a later date. Any running backs you want to talk about as breakouts?
We'll go. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 1 veteran and 1 rookie. So Ken Walker, I think, is in a good spot. I don't think people realize how good he was last year at the beginning of the season. Then he dealt with the injuries, and Zach Charbonnet replaced him, and then he came back and he struggled. You brought this up quite a bit last year. That Detroit game, when the Lions defense was at its peak and just crushing everybody from a run defense standpoint, he scored 3 touchdowns against them and just had a monster performance. It was just one of the more dominating games, I think, of anybody in the season, no matter if it was 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns. I thought it was 3. There's that player there. And
Yes.
maybe if they use him a little bit more in the passing game, which they're talking about, there's a lot to love about the situation because the offense line will be better. Clearly, Charbonnet is going to be a problem. But as we've seen in now 2 coaching regimes, when Ken Walker's healthy, he's the guy. Charbonnet is more of a backup. And so I think there's an extra gear for him to get to. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to have that type of season. So we're getting to the point where contract's going to matter for him. Hopefully he stays on the field, can't avoid getting injured, can't avoid Charbonnet taking over. And I think there's a big season coming for Ken Walker. So borderline RB1 for me.
I think as much as any running back in football last year, he was really hurt by a very bad offensive line. But I don't know that they're that much better. I think that's what kind of concerns me. I think all they did was sign Josh Jones, a former Baltimore lineman. He's been mostly a backup. I'm not sure what else they've done to improve the line. They drafted first round. Yeah, they drafted an offensive lineman, a guard. But oh gosh, I don't know what to make of Ken Walker because he is so enticing, and that was a 3 touchdown game. I do think he needs more catches. I hope he gets them. Who else at running back?
I'll go one rookie in RJ Harvey, and you can see the path to success for him. Clearly, Genty's on a different level, but Harvey has the upside to be top 15, if not top 12. We've seen what Sean Payton has done with his running backs. You've illustrated the lack of maybe carries, but we know the catches and the total touches are there for him. And look at his competition. Jaleel McLaughlin, not a guy I think that's going to threaten him to a huge degree. Maybe Estime can take him off the field for short yardage situations, which hurts his touchdown potential. But he's got the receiving chops coming out of UCF. He's going to have the opportunity to be the first and second down guy. This is the guy that they targeted, and they took him in round 2. And there's a lot to love about the situation and everything that goes along with being a Sean Payton running back. So I have him ranked in the top 20. That may be too low. So right now it's the veteran guys of Walker and Mixon and Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, Breece Hall, and then right after that it's RJ Harvey. I love the upside for him. I take him as early as round 4.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back and get you some wide receiver breakouts on FFT Express. All right, what's the wide receiver breakout look like?
I'll give you again veteran and a rookie. Jaxon Smith-Njigba could just be absolutely awesome this year, and I know Cooper Kupp is there, and maybe Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and the change in quarterback to Sam Darnold. So does Darnold regress if the offensive line in front of him, the system's not as good? But you saw the 2 games that JSN played without DK Metcalf, and it was through the roof. The target should be there for him. He's entering year 3. It's the exact type of build you like to see for third-year breakouts. Okay, year 1, huge step forward year 2, could be a superstar year 3. We know the pedigree coming out of Ohio State. He's got so much upside. And so as long as Cooper Kupp doesn't just completely come in and dominate targets, for a guy at 32 who's been injury prone the last couple of years, that doesn't scare me. May scare some people. I'm taking JSN in round 2, and I have no hesitation about it. So top 10 caliber wide receiver.
Drake London or JSN?
Drake London still, but it's close. We'll see how things go for Penix in camp. If he's struggling a little bit and Darnold looks like he's picking up the system, then that's an easy switch for me to make. But they're very similar range, both round 2 receivers.
All right. And who's the rookie? Sorry.
Travis Hunter. It's a huge opportunity for him. And a guy that could be a number 2 wide receiver. You started the conversation, which is it was certainly eye opening for me a little bit. Just how good he could be. Saying that he was going to be drafted too low, and I continue to move him up my rankings. And so he's a borderline wide receiver 2 right now. That's somebody that I think you should take. If he's there around 5, it's a no-brainer, but as early as around 4. So there's a lot to like about the situation. Hopefully, he's not going to spend too much time on defense, but I think Trevor Lawrence, who could say is going to be a breakout quarterback, playing off of Brian Thomas Jr., there's going to be, I think, funneled targets for both these guys. I don't think the Brenton Stranges of the world are going to, take too many opportunities away from both Thomas and Hunter. And by all accounts, he's already walking onto the field, ready to go and picking up things quickly for Liam Cohen. So Cohen showed you last year he can get great production out of 2 receivers, whether it was Evans and Godwin and Evans and McMillan. Like he's going to get great production out of both these guys. And Travis Hunter may, as you illustrated post draft, may creep into that round 3 range based on how Malik Neighbors went last year when the hype started to get out of control.
Okay, let's finish up with tight end breakouts.
So I haven't really settled on anybody post-draft yet. I'll go back to pre-draft, and he can still be in this conversation. But Tucker Kraft was somebody I was very excited about. Now the excitement is a little bit dampered because of the Golden and Savion Williams additions. So, the receiving core has certainly been restocked with Christian Watson, going out for probably the majority of the season. But look, Kraft is somebody that they like. Matt LaFleur's talked him up quite a bit. He was a top 12 tight end for me. I've sort of put him behind the 2 rookies, but certainly still right in that range. So hopefully this is a step forward for him, for a guy that hovered in that 10 PPR range last year. Maybe gets a couple more touchdowns. Hopefully Jordan Love throws the ball a little bit more this season, but somebody that can have a little bit better year than he had last year, and somebody you can get with a late round pick.
All right. That is Jamey Eisenberg. I'm Adam Aizer, and these have been some breakouts for you. Make sure you read the article. Sleepers, breakouts, busts. Not just from Jamey. We're going to have Dave and Heath as well, all on cbssports.com/fantasy. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.